Hello, welcome to Bert's Books Saturday night cocktail hour. Now, this is almost the end of the month of August, and I'm painfully aware I've done nothing for Garbaugust. Best intentions and all that, best laid plans. Well, it doesn't follow that I haven't read any garbage. So maybe I'll do a very quick roundup of the more dubious bits of my reading over the last month. And what can I say? But yeah, sorry, next year. Now, first off, for reasons that I'll go into at a later date, I revisited one of the first horrors I remember buying new off the shelves, probably John Menzies or Smith's at the beginning of the 80s. Still a schoolboy back then, but there was no, there was no equivalent of a top shelf, if you like. No one cared what books you bought at what age. So I went and picked this up, and, on face value, it does have all the hallmarks of that really kind of schlocky strand of 80s horror. It's a creature feature type of deal, obviously from the cover art. Those are sewer worms, which, curiously undocumented by science, other than but described in rich detail here. However, I always felt that the cover art there, those always look to me more like there's a species of European newt, and I'm not sure which one I'm thinking of now, but just the illustrations in my Blandford book of reptiles and amphibians always just look. This just reminded me of those. Anyway, as this cover art kind of tells you a lot of what you need to know about the plot. These things obviously eat flesh, quite often young women, naked young women, they're particularly vulnerable in the bath. But actually revisiting it, it's maybe a little bit unfair to tar it with that really crappy 80s horror brush, because John Howkin isn't, I've got to say, he's not that bad a writer. He's obviously a fairly capable writer, and he does, he fleshes out his characters with, they're not just the kind of two-dimensional bods that you get in, for instance, a Guy N. Smith book. He does sort of go into a bit of motivation and things like that. So it's not quite the schlock fest you might expect from appearances. It's not highbrow art either, don't get me wrong. But, it's one of those, it's tempting to look at it as a kind of herald of, whatever the word is, of 80s, a harbinger of 80s horror. But I think John Howkin was actually sort of at least a level above that. And mind you, I've got others of his. He did seem to specialise in the squelchy, creepy, crawly thing. What's the other one I've got? Is it Bloodworm? The other one I've got by him. He had one called Squelch, and quite similar formula. But anyway, it's not that trashy. So I don't know if it's fair to lump it in really as a Garbaugust title, although the presentation certainly fits. Next, now I've got to say, again, I read this first in the early 80s. And it terrified me. It absolutely did its job on me at that age. I swallowed it completely as this actually happened. This happened to these people. Satan was in that house. Now, revisiting the Amityville horror at the time of life I am now, it's a sad. Not all creative art retains its power. Sadly, this one. Yeah, it did none of what it did to me at 13 or 14 years old. It just, it might be a book we should go into in greater detail at some point, but call me a jaded old cynic, but my reaction to it this time around is, yes, these people went and bought the murder house. They got a bargain, because whatever the guy's name was, Ron DeFeo, was it? Yes, that did happen. Now, my feelings on this at the moment are, sorry, George and Kathy Lutz, but, you bought the murder house, and I would guess someone had just made $1 million out of The Exorcist. But anyway, the Happy Family Unit. They do say that a lot of horror kind of reflects the anxieties of the particular time. This, I suppose, at the end of the 70s, 1978 or so, supposedly the safe world of the middle-class white couple in the States being upended by economic conditions. Suddenly that nice property with the sweet mortgage deal you've set up isn't looking so rosy. Supposedly this book is an example of horror as a genre regurgitating the anxieties of the time, but was spiced up with a lot of Satan. This one also resorts to what I believe is a trusty standby in horror based in the States that, oh yeah, that used to be like a Native American burial ground, or in this case, I think it was a combination of a burial ground and a tribal insane compound, where they left all the mentally ill members of the tribe. I think it was pointed out since the publication of this that it's attributed to the wrong Native American tribe. Anyway, like I say, it might be worth digging and getting into further. Yeah, it is a work, however right or wrong it might be. It was a significant landmark in the genre at the time it came out, and it did, to be fair, like I say, it did do its job when I was of an age to be kind of, I suppose a bit gullible and easily scared. But maybe we'll revisit this one at another time. Next, now I haven't got terribly far into this one. I'm this far into book list. Yes, it's a Jackie Collins. Yeah, I've read her work before. Picked up a copy of whatever it was, The Bitch, late last year, and I got through it. I don't know if I'm going to get through this in its entirety. I love the way it's all uppercase, sort of shouty caps on the back cover. This book promises to be her raunchy best, the New York Times says. Well, yeah, it sort of reads like someone trying very hard, much too hard, to be raunchy. So far, I mean, I've not seen much of an actual plot emerge this far, and it's just this collection of an introduction to various characters, all of whom seem to be like really charmless people, bitches or bastards. They're all sort of oversexed, overambitious, not that talented. And intent on screwing each other or screwing each other over. There's already in this, it goes into people's backstories, there's already a really distasteful account of incest. It's already, I don't know how far I'm going to get with this. There's something very 80s about this, the kind of, I don't know if you can read this as a bit of an extension of the greed is good type of ethos, but it is, I suppose, a sort of postcard of the times, and it is absolutely trashy. Like I say, I don't know if I'm going to finish that. It's a toilet read, and that's a whole lot of toilet time we're looking at there. So don't hold your breath. Anyway, who knows? Maybe next year I'll get it together for Garbaugust. I did have intentions, and it fell apart. So I don't know, unless we could sort of improvise a follow-up to it, like October or something. I don't know. Sorry.